Give me 1 Timothy 6 and 20. And Ecclesiastes in the Bible 9. Okay, we're going to give a quick lesson, then we'll open it up for questions. Okay? I wanted to bring forth some information that we found out in Europe. We've been teaching for years that according to the Bible, when it comes down to breaking down nations, that according to the Bible, the people that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth in substandard living are in fact the children of Israel, the people that are being enslaved on this earth. They're being enslaved by the Gentiles. The Asians are oppressing them. Also, the Hamites are oppressing them. The Asians are the sons of Japheth. Okay, they were pushed out through war. They were the original Europeans, which are the Asians. They are oppressing God's people too. When you look at what's going on with the Philippines and the Vietnamese and all those people, believe it or not, they are the poor of the Japhetic people. There was a remnant of our people that went over into Asia that was separated in ghettos and in towns. Now they're flooding them, destroying them. They may look Asian, but a lot of those people are in fact the children of Israel. A lot of them are Naphtali, believe it or not, and a lot of them are Judah. Look at the people that are suffering on this earth. The Philippines, the majority of them, the vast majority of the Philippines are the children of Israel. Okay, and we have a lesson soon coming out on the Asian diaspora also, the people of the diaspora that ran into Asia. But back to my point, the children of Israel are suffering all over the earth, and the Gentiles have enslaved them. Now we live in the age of DNA, and most people might think that DNA is strictly for science, something that can better mankind or to solve a crime. If you look at whatever program they have on today, CSI or whatever the case may be. But really, they went into DNA for the times of the end to be able to identify the children of Israel scattered amongst the people. We went into a lesson not too long ago to show that Satan had a problem with God's people, the woman, and fled into the wilderness. After Christ was crucified, Satan was bound within the earth to be able to attack and destroy the earth and God's people. But the science wasn't up at that time. They could not identify God's people because God's people started spreading amongst the other people. Then you have what you will call race mixing, and then Israel's seed started mixing amongst the races, and you couldn't tell who was who, but Israel's seed survived. So now we're living in the age of DNA, in which they know Israel have a definitive code to be able to identify who Israel is. They're not telling people that they're using DNA to track down people and destroy them, but that's what it's all about in biometrics. I want to go into this lesson, the signs of Christ is coming, based on the fact that for years we've been telling people that the Europeans that are over in Israel today are not Jews by blood. Okay, now that's no new news for those that have been following us for a while. They're not Jews by blood. They tell you they're not Jews strictly by saying they're Jewish. That's an indicator. If you're Ish, you're not it. You're Ish. If something blue, it's blue. It's not bluish. If something is red, it's not red. It's reddish. Okay, so they told you their name was Jewish. They're Jews based on what you will call, anything all right? Okay. They're Jews strictly based on religion, not nationality. Okay? Now, not only are the Asians oppressing the children of Israel in different areas, you got the Hamites, which are African, oppressing the children of Israel. Okay? Some of these tribal wars that are being funded, they understand it's Hamitic people going against the children of Israel. Don't get confused based on just color. Someone being dark skinned. Just because you're dark skinned does not mean you're the same race. You had an African race, the Egyptians, ruling over another dark race, the Israelites. They were not both African. Even though Israel was captive in Africa under the Egyptians, Moses was able to pose as an Egyptian. Why? He looked the same as the Africans, even though he came from an entirely different father. Okay? The Israelites came from Shem, and Ham was the father of the Egyptians. Two separate, distinctive races. So even to this day, they have distorted the truth and told people that the children of Israel were not dark. They have placed other people in the Egypt and to tell people that the Egyptians are Middle Eastern so they can pass off a false Christ with a false doctrine. But in the meantime, they are destroying the children of Israel. They're making a society in which we cannot identify ourselves. We don't know our God. And even though we don't link into our own identity, they know who we are, and because of that, they're looking to exterminate the children of Israel. Not only are the Africans, but the European powers. When you go into Psalms 83, it tells you all the governments who are responsible for oppressing the children of Israel, saying, let's cut Israel off from being a nation, so the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. Did you all know that was in the Bible in Psalms? Did you know that? It identifies the people that are behind hiding the name. Go to Psalms 83. So you have all these things out here. You have even scientists popping up today saying, well, and they're using, believe it or not, the black, what you will call Afrocentric movement is against our people. The black Afrocentric movement is against God's people. It was also put in place to give us a path away from who we were, to give us an alternative path, just to strictly focus on black power and black empowerment in Africa. When we were enslaved in Africa, all right, we were enslaved in Egypt by Africans. So that was a deception in itself also, to make you think you're cleaving to your roots and to your genetics, when really it was the Africans that enslaved us. It was the Africans, they were the first sorcerers. They were the first people doing voodoo and all those things. The Hamites. Okay, so we know that they are trying to avert the truth also, and the Bible identifies this. Okay, so you have the Asians, which are Japhetic. You got Ishmael, which is the Arabs. You have Esau, which is primarily the European powers. You have am I missing someone? You got Elam, the East Indians. I mean, some of the East Indians, some of them are Japhet also. You have the Persians, which are also Japhet, which are Middle Easterns, like Ahmadinejad and them. Yes, all the people in the earth have conspired together to keep us in this last days, to keep us in a state of total ignorance and knowledge of ourselves and the knowledge of our forefathers. Okay, read Psalms 83 and 1. Read that.
Psalms chapter 83 verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee lift up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
It says they have taken crafty counsel against God's people. So these nations have came together in meetings like your UN, your modern day UN, and sat down and conspired against a people in the earth. It says they have taken crafty counsel against thy people. Read.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
They have consulted against thy hidden ones. Who are the hidden ones? The children of Israel. What's hidden from them? Their identity. Their identity. So they have conspired against the people who have no idea where they come from or who they are. Read.
Verse 4. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation.
This is the conspiracy. We like to talk about conspiracies. Here's the conspiracy. Read it again.
They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation.
They all came together and said, let us cut them off from being a nationality. We have to make them think that their nationality or nation does not matter. Because if they understand that they are a nation, they will join together. They will understand that they have the same plight. They would join together and understand that they have been oppressed all over the earth by the Gentiles. If they know that they're Israel, they can identify the enemies of their nation if they can first identify their nation. Read.
They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Read that again.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
That the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. So they conspired together in their meetings with an orchestrated effort to make sure through their schools, their religious institutions, and through normal society, the children will never realize that their forefathers come from the seed of Israel. Now, if you do this for 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, 500 years, you understand? If you do this through the ages, the children of Israel will grow up and say, well, I don't know who I am. It doesn't matter. I done mixed with all the people. Everyone's the same. God loves everybody. We're fine. And then, on the other hand, you have those who didn't lose their history. Use their religions and their history and their institutions to have power over the slaves. You have power over the slaves, you get slave labor. Now you have a capitalistic society that's thriving and getting fiscally empowered off of the ignorant children of Israel. You understand? That's how you build a capitalistic society. By making people think that you are a vibrant part of society when you're nothing more than a slave. That's what you are. Right? So they said, let's cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. And then if you wait 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 years, you can have another guy just pop up out of nowhere and say, you know what? We're Israel. We're the only people that still keeping the laws according to what this world think the laws are, according to God. We're Jewish. We want a land. I mean, there's nobody else claiming it. Why can't we claim it? Because of the conspiracy. Psalms 83. That's why we can't claim it. We have no idea that the land belongs to us. So now the Gentiles have overran the land. Thousands of years later, hundreds of years later, they pop up and say, you know what? We need our land back. Now, who can go against them? Who can oppose them? Who can bring an alternative idea and say, you know what, that land belongs to us? We can't, because we are the product of the conspiracy. We have no idea that the land belongs to us. We didn't know there was money somewhere for land. We thought we came from Africa. That's what they told us. Yo, you see this now? And I'm saying this because some people might claim, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are or where you came from. That's ridiculous. It did matter, because these guys were able to get the land. They got monetary resources. They got earth resources. They got UN backing. They got banks. They got everything. They got reparations. So something comes with knowing who you are. Don't tell me it doesn't matter when someone else claims to be a Jew and gets everything. Okay? That's backwards. How can they just stake a claim to a land and then tell the slaves, the people that are actually living the curses, it doesn't matter? And then you have the black empowerment movement, which is actually in the way, because they're asking for reparations, and they don't realize that the Jewish people received their reparations. They're asking for African empowerment reparations without going to the source of those that took their reparations. And that leads us back to Farrakhan. He had an opportunity, since he's talking about reparations and cotton, to tell the Jewish people that they are not Esau but Jacob, and they should not be in the land. That was his opportunity to stand and say, listen, the land you in belongs to us. So what you receive really belongs to us. If he was really talking about black empowerment. Read that again.
Psalms chapter 83 verse 4. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
They wanted to make sure that our children would forget the name of Israel, so that they could stake claim to the name. Now, why are the other nations mum about the Jewish people? They didn't lose their history. Why are the other nations not standing up and saying, listen, I know you people are not the people. Why? They conspired together. If they come out against them, then what happens? Then everything falls apart. So everyone had to have a hand in our captivity. They say, listen, we'll let you get the land, but when you set up the land, you must give us an opportunity to come through and rape and destroy these people the way you're doing. So in every country, you have to set us up every other block in the neighborhoods so that we can make money off of our religion and our products in the slave territories. You see that? Every place the children of Israel are, between a 2-block radius, you have how many stores? How many are owned by the people that live in the area? Think about it. So they all came together with one agenda, one idea, and say, listen, we'll be quiet about you Jewish people, but y'all have to make sure you cut a piece for me. Hence, the UN. They all in it together. And what people are being left out? The slaves. Okay? Read.
Psalms chapter 83 verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent.
They came together under one consent, under an agreement. Go ahead.
They are confederate against me.
And they are a confederate against God's people. We mentioned that in the conference. Don't think that these governments in the earth are for you. They sit in these private councils and find new ways to rape and destroy you and pillage you. Because they figure that's what you're here for. You was God's people. You had your opportunity. Now look at you. The last thing they want to see is you get your glory and your God back. Because where does that leave them? We must change places now. You can't have two empires ruling the same time. And that takes us back to the struggle of Jacob and Esau. They was fighting for a birthright. You can't have two rulers at one time. When Esau was down, we were up. Period. When we fell, Esau came up. Read.
Verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom.
The first person they named, the first people they named who conspired against Israel is Edom. That's the first person they named. Is Edom. Now we know Edom is right now the so-called European race. Of course there's Israel scattered amongst them that look no different than them. That's why you just can't judge somebody off of physical appearance. But the majority of, especially the elites of the white race, they make sure even if they have to sleep with their sister, they will not mix their race with any other people. Okay? They keep their bloodline together. That pure Idumean race. Idumean race. Like the Hurrides. You look at George Bush, his family goes straight to the Hurrides. His family line, on his mother and father's side. To show you that they was doing all types of things to keep that inside. Idumean. Idumean from Herod to Antipas. Then you have Julius Caesar. And I hate to say this too, at least on his mother's side we know, Barack Obama. He goes straight to the Hurrides. Him, Dick Cheney, George Bush, all of them, they have family line directly to Herod and Antipas. Okay? So I'm going into this to show you who's conspired against the children of Israel. Now, you have some people out there like scientists and other people saying, well, Esau can't be the white man. And the biggest deception that's out there, even though my brother Rudolph R. Windsor did this about 25 years ago, and if he was to write another book, he would be able to set it straight. Rudolph R. Windsor was the scholar who taught in Philadelphia, Temple University, and he started bringing things to the forefront before a lot of our people realized we were Israelites. Rudolph R. Windsor was raised under the Jewish doctrine, under Judaism. He was raised under he converted to Judaism. He did that around the 60s and 70s, and he joined a synagogue. And through that, he was a highly educated brother. He started traveling all over the world. He realized we were Israel, and he got Jewish people to pay for his first book, which is From Babylon to Timbuktu. He had to publish his own books after that because, there was an awakening with the book. But he did one thing that they were able to co-sign on, and that's the reason they actually helped him publish the book. Instead of him identifying the Caucasians as Esau, he identified them as Japheth. And because he identified them as Japheth, they didn't have no problem fueling his or paying for the publishing, because it's still a level of deception. The original Japhetic people are Asians. Look at the Mongols and look at the people around in Russia near the mountains, and look, they're like dark Asians. The same people that went through the Bering Strait over in Alaska. They are black Asians. Those are the original Europeans. So at that time, he didn't have the research. In the book of Jasher, it tells you that Zipho, Esau's grandson, went into Chittim, which is Greece. He went into Greece. And he started the migration of his other brothers into Europe. This happened during the same time Joseph and the children of Israel was in Egypt. Okay? Around the same time. Alright? Somewhere around 1300 BC. Later on, you had Philip of Macedonia. Around about near a little after the 400s BC. You had Philip, the father of Alexander the Greek, who started fighting against the Asians and had wars against Asians and moved them further into the countries they're in today. Then you had his son who finished the work. Who was that? Alexander the Greek. If you don't believe that, get the movie Alexander the Greek and look who he was fighting against. It shows you all the areas. Push the Asians further back into where they are today. And guess who finished the job? Under Romulus and Remus, the Romans. They finished conquering all of Europe and putting them all under one vibration and under one government, and empowering the Edomite Empire, the eagle that would one day control the earth. Alright? Now this history, people, a lot of historians, some of them know, but they want to hide this information. Look in the book of Jasher. It tells you exactly what son of Esau went into Europe. Now you don't know he went to Europe because you don't know the biblical names in the Bible. So you see Zepho going into Chittim, and that's nothing to you because you don't know what Chittim is until you get a modern day map and compare Chittim, and you'll see that Chittim is modern day Greece. Now we understand how Esau went through the Caucasus and went in that area and did what he did. Okay, it all comes together. But Esau was the head conspirator. Why? Because of the struggle between him and his brother Jacob. So he's the head conspirator with taking his brother down, Jacob. Read.
And the Ishmaelites.
And the Ishmaelites. Right after him came who? The Ishmaelites, which are the modern day Arabs. Now, not all Arabs. That's another misconception. That's another misconception out there. Excuse me. Get from over there. Excuse me. Get from over there. Okay. That's another misconception. Thank you. That's another misconception. Some people out there think that all Arabs are one race. Some people out there think that all Arabs are one race. That's another misconception. All Arabs are not the same race. Just because you're a Muslim don't mean that you're in the same family living in the Middle East. Okay? So you got the Ishmaelites. They moved a high number. Alexander the Greek did this too. Once he named parts of Egypt Alexandria. Alexandria, Egypt, is named after Alexander the Greek. I'm not going to call him Alexander the Great because there was nothing great about it. Okay? He was a known homosexual. Okay? He did a lot of things that was just irrational, without understanding, and he did anything for power. Okay? Now, he named the area Alexandria. He also allowed a high influx of no, out the chair. Out the chair. Over there. Thank you. Yeah, 12 princes. He allowed a high influx of Ishmaelites into the area. So they conspired together. Now, why out of all the African countries would he want Ishmael in Egypt? Why would Alexander the Greek have his own palace and have his people come into Egypt and set stake in Egypt? That was before the Roman Empire was ever established. Why? They knew one day that the children of Israel would wake up and track their steps back to Egypt, where they became a nation. Egypt is where Israel walked out of and went to the land of Canaan. So if you put Ishmaelites there, Arabs there, and you put Greeks there and white people there, a few thousand years later, you can tell the people that Christ was Middle Eastern, that Christ was white. Because when you look at the Egyptians and you ignore the Nubians, the original Egyptians that was there, you would think that it was always Middle Eastern. It was a conspiracy against the children of Israel. Read. Ishmael. Who else?
Of Moab.
Of Moab. Moab and Ammon are your modern day Jordanians and your modern day Palestinians And also they're on the other side of Israel. They're the people that borders Israel. That never changed. They live on the borders. They live on the borders of Israel. Okay? And a lot of them are being oppressed today. And it tells you at the very end, once we flee into certain cities, that Ammon going to be a covering for the children of Israel. They will help Israel escape into certain areas when everything breaks loose under the New World Order. That's scripture. But they conspired against us also. It wasn't possible for them to set up garrisons against Israel unless they went to the people that were on our borders to agree to keep us within Israel during 70 AD. You had Moab and Ammon who were on the borders who conspired. Why did they conspire? They conspired so that once we left the land, they can go in the land. They got some of the best water there, some of the best resources there. So they went into the land. And when the Jewish people came, they kicked them back out of the land. That's the fight you have right now, the Palestinian Jewish war. See, now we're bringing things into perspective so you can understand what's going on in the earth. Because the Jewish people could fight them for it because they know that them people didn't belong there anyway. You got that? So it's important we understand who these people are in order to understand world events. Usually the only people that don't understand what's going on are people that are not biblically inclined or people that are ignorant altogether and don't care. They think that these politics and things that's going on the earth is just by chance. No. The Jewish people knew that the people in there had as much right to it as they did. Let's go there, let's kick them out. They had their time, they had their share. They was living in the land of milk and honey for years. It was the Arabs there for one time. The big fight was over Jerusalem. Who would rule Jerusalem? You rule Jerusalem, you rule the world. They knew that. Read on.
And the Hagarenes.
And the Hagarenes. These are more Jewish nations, more Arab nations. Go ahead.
Gebal and Ammon and Amalek.
What do they say? Go down to the 12th verse.
Introducing Ustream Producer.
One moment.
A full studio control room in one intuitive package. Ustream Producer.
Go ahead.
Verse 12. Who said, Let us take ourselves the houses of the Most High in possession.
Read it again.
Who said, Let us take to ourselves the houses of the Most High in possession.
And when you read all those families all the way down, these are all people that have some type of voice in the UN. They all came together and said, let's do what?
Who said, Let us take to ourselves the houses of the Most High in possession.
Let us join together and possess the children of Israel. What that means? All the nations on the earth is complicit in this conspiracy. They all have a part in taking advantage of God's people. They all have the same point. And when our people migrated amongst them, they kept us separated. Even not just in America, not just here in Europe, all over the place. Even in Iraq, we found out there's a ghetto in Iraq with people just like us. That was on CNN not too long ago. There's some people in ghettos in India who were the children of Israel that just recently got entry back into Israel. They living in East Indies, not looking like any of the Indians, looking just like us. But they knew they were Jews the whole time. This is public news now. Now, I said earlier that the Afrocentric religions have been part of our oppression because it is. You got Manethos, which was an Egyptian historian. He was paid by the Greeks to say that Israel never existed in the land of Egypt. And they conspired with a book called the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and through time started pushing that all in the ghetto so that we cannot relate ourselves to the children of Israel. Manethos was behind that. Then they're saying through their science, because they want to use science. This is what these Egyptologists talk about, science. Well, they said the white man cannot be from us because our genetics won't allow us to have a Caucasian baby. Caucasians come from the caves, and when it was cold, their eyes turned gray and their skin turned pale because they had no sun. See, that's why the Lord says stay away from science. The science is madness. They claim that a black man and black woman cannot have a white child. Now, we said for years that Jacob and Esau, which were twins, had a black father, Isaac, and a black mother, Rebecca. We said that for years. Now, I don't know what y'all thinking here, and I don't like to just bring race into this, but we got to bring it out to show you there's nothing new under the sun. I think these people look pretty black to me. They're here in Britain. They're from Jamaica. They're from Nigeria, excuse me. Nigeria, but it's in the paper in Britain. I don't know if they have this in the paper in the United States. Right? No problem there. But let's look at their child. Look at the baby. Let's look at the child. So they want to come with this science. Let's get that scripture on the science real quick.
1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 20.
1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 20. Read it.
O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust. Avoid profane and vain babbling.
The Lord says, and it tell you in the Bible, avoid what?
Avoiding profane and vain babbling.
We must avoid profane babbling. That means people just talking for nothing. Profane. So they be philosophizing in all these different religions, saying, well, science will not allow black people to have white children. Okay? The Lord says there's nothing new under the sun. He's bringing these signs to show you what we've been teaching was right the whole time. Read it again.
1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 20.
Go ahead.
O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust.
Go ahead.
Avoiding profane.
We must avoid profane and vain babblings. That means people talking for no reason. This is what these scientists and so-called professors and historians get in the room and do, babble. They're not bringing the Bible and the truth about the Bible. The majority of these Afrocentric religions are trying to discredit the Bible along with every other religion. Why? Because the Bible identifies a people. So they want to discredit it altogether. Read.
And oppositions of science.
Oppositions of what?
And oppositions of science.
Any science that opposes the Bible, you should throw out. Starting with Darwin's theory. It opposes the Bible. The Bible tell you to totally ignore that madness. How can I sit here after a record that have been written for thousands of years, and one European comes up and give me his theory, and I'm supposed to throw out all these thousands of years of history and understanding based on this man's theory? Something must be wrong with people following a theory. Read it again. The last part.
Avoiding profane and vain babblings.
You must avoid profane and vain babblings. Read.
And oppositions of science.
Any oppositions of science. So if someone comes to you talking about science and that black people cannot have white babies, you must throw that out. This is further proof that two nations can come out of black people. Adam and Eve were black people. This is no hate teaching. This is truth teaching. Somebody give me that sign real quick. Give me that. I I brought this out the other day. This one here. Now, y'all might say, well, when are we going to get into the Christ teaching? This is Christ teaching. This is truth. Okay? I got to bring this out again. This is what happens when you don't have truth. They're going to put up a criminal to be Jesus Christ when you don't have truth. So because these people have brought forth this science and all this madness in the earth, you think that this guy is Jesus Christ. And you have somebody with this on their wall talking about it doesn't matter. Jesus loved all of us. It doesn't matter. Right? We must avoid. There's more. I want you to look at this family real quick. In Nigeria, he says at first he joked and said, is she mine? It's a little girl they had. But of course she's mine. They go to baby right there. He was joking and say, oh, is that mine? But let me tell you, it was proof that it was his. Think about this. Look how dark she is. Even if she would have had, lay down with somebody Caucasian, the baby would have been darker than this. Here's a bigger picture of her. Blonde hair, blue eyes too. So this totally killed the science of theory, how people went up into the mountains and turned white because there was no sun, and their eyes turned blue and gray based on the darkness of the cave. This is what happened when you have babbling of scientists and people that deals with theory. Look at that. Blonde hair and blue eyes. What will they say now? What science can they bring now? I wanted to bring that. I wanted to say this. The conference that we're having Saturday, because some of you might ask here, how do we know who the children of Israel is scattered throughout the earth? Right? Like, how do we know in detail? First of all, the Most High gave us the information. That's number one. Number two, you have to realize there's history all in place to prove these facts when you connect it with the Bible. There's history in place that cannot be disputed. Here's some books you can get. Hebrewism in West Africa. Show you all the tribes the children of Israel came out of. That was in Africa. The riches we ruled and all that. And you know what? That's the last battleground. The war on terrorism then moved from the Arab people to the black people now. The people in Africa. What happened after the World Cup? You see, they publicized that riot like it was crazy and people died and all that. And America mobilized their troops due to an African terrorist group that was behind the so-called act that happened after the World Cup that was staged. Also, that's why we want to get off this just black thing, because Israel been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And you can put an Israelite next to any race, and you will find that they look like every race on earth through time. You go through the ghetto, you can stand up one brother next to a Puerto Rican, you wouldn't know if he was Puerto Rican or what. You can stand him next to a Arab. You can stand some of them next to white people, you wouldn't know who was who. It's through the curses we understand who Israel is. The Most High is not going to put his curses on other people as a whole. As a whole. You understand? Of course you're going to have some that fall through the cracks. But as a nation, only God's people fits the curses. What people are being oppressed on the earth. What people are being dejected, losing everything on the earth. What people don't have a nation, have nothing to call their own. This book right here. Here's a Jewish guy named Ronald Sanders. Now, mind you, this guy heard some reports of the children of Israel being of the diaspora, or the Indians that went over into America. And he didn't go into the information or the history to actually find this out for his historical understanding. He went into it to prove the critics wrong, who claimed the Indians and the Mexicans and all of them were the children of Israel. He went in there to prove them wrong. And the more he researched, the more he realized that these people were more Israelites or Jews than he is. It's called Lost Tribes in the Promised Lands. You have a high number of Jews over in Europe. You got a high level of Israelites in Europe. A high level of Spanish from Mexico. From a lot of them from Puerto Rico. That was taken down by the conquistadors and brought over to Spain. You go into Spain, you'll see many Puerto Ricans who we think is Puerto Ricans and all that. A lot of them migrate to Spain because they have family in Spain. Why? They were brought over there in cargo slave ships. So it wasn't just the black people that fulfilled the slave ship prophecy in Deuteronomy 28 and 68. We need to get off just that black thing. Go into history and you'll see that there were Spanish people dragged over into Europe, into Spain, to serve the Europeans. Lost Tribes in the Promised Land. And this is one of the original books. You can't even get it in hardback. You only get it in paperback now. And in this book, when the conquistadors came over, you had the Beliqua Taino Indian, and you had the different Indians speaking Hebrew. Shema Yesha Allah Allahayana wa Akkad. They said that on the Sabbath. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. And it's in the book. They had proof it was Hebrew in their burial grounds. When Montezinos came over. And we're going to go into this history this Saturday to show you what's going on with that. But we have the history to prove who the children of Israel are. Also, in the conference, we went into why they do the reason for the DNA testing today. Why they trying to get all of our DNA in genetics in the last days, all over the earth. Okay. Also, we went into the mass genocide on the reason they came up with a eugenics and a genocide program that ultimately led to the destruction of our people and still destroying our people in Africa. Now, some of the brothers and sisters didn't hear it out there, so I just want to do a summary before I go into Second Esdras. The summary was, there's a video you can actually go to on YouTube. And I seen this years ago, called The Origin of AIDS. And the reason I went, the purpose of going into this particular lesson, or going into this particular thing, is because I seen a brother who sent me his information, who actually cured himself from full-blown AIDS. He sent me the information in the chart. In order for him to cure himself, alright, he had to trace its origin. America and the Western world purposely is not treating the AIDS pandemic because they created it. They're telling people in the Western world there's no cure for AIDS, and it's a lie. The brother cured himself. You can actually go online and see this. He cured himself by going outside the country and getting alternative medicine. It's a saline drip. a saline drip. And as a matter of fact, the patent is a U.S. patent that the government owns. You can actually go and Google patent for AIDS, and they'll give you the patent number. They've been a cure since the early 90s. This brother went to South America and got one IV drip and ate right and was cured. Went back and the story went away. Went back to America, AIDS gone. Totally finished. Then he did a track on the origin of AIDS. It comes to Europe and America. A doctor in France and a doctor in the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. Because they couldn't do their science in the Western world, they hired doctors in the Congos, and they got nurses, Christian nurses, to help them. They went to the Congos to test what they was telling the people over here, the polio vaccine. To test the polio vaccine. Now, mind you, there was this rush for polio vaccine when really polio is not a disease that spread from one person to the next. It's a spine disease. It's not a pandemic. Why do they give people polio shots? We still don't know. You cannot catch polio from another person. Alright? But it was this race, this propaganda race. And this is the same time they was doing what you would call the Tuskegee experiment, testing syphilis on black people over in America during the same time period. Shooting them with syphilis and see the effects of the side effects of syphilis. They was over in the Congos, two scientists, one from France and one from America. They went into the Congos because they found out that there was a rare disease amongst the chimpanzees in the Congos. It was called SIV. And because of this disease, the chimpanzees would live for a shorter lifespan. They was not living out their full lifespan based on a disease only amongst the chimpanzees. So they started promoting in their media that in order for the polio vaccine to work, it need a live, vibrant organ close to humans. So what did they use? The chimpanzees in the Congos diagnosed with the SIV virus. They was chopping that up and using it as an organism, because you have to use a foreign organism for the vaccines. They was chopping up chimpanzees with the disease, but they had to test it. You would never guess who they tested it on. The village in the Congos wiped out the whole village in the Congos. Now they had their magic bullet. Their magic bullet was the SIV virus, and now they can spread it to humans. So they put it in what you will call some of the polio vaccines and sent them to certain areas, and they made sure during the 80s, the late 70s, they put it in what you will call the hepatitis C vaccine. Who was dealing with the hepatitis disease? Homosexuals. So now homosexuals is spreading that disease they got through a vaccine. People are not concerned about it because they figure, okay, homosexuals is dying and it's not affecting us. Homosexuals, maybe it's a curse from God, he's killing homosexuals. That's what the Christians were saying. They went down to the blood bank before the blood banks was testing blood and started giving blood to the blood banks. Now, you get a blood transfusion, you take AIDS home to your family. Then it started becoming a pandemic. Next thing you know, they use Magic Johnson's propaganda at the same time to use AIDS awareness. The same time. Then AIDS blew up all over the place. Next thing you know, we live in today in what, over almost 50 million people have died from AIDS. Right? Then they had doctors going into Africa and in these different areas, shooting them with the vaccine, also putting it in the water. Now, to hide the fact that it can be administered through a syringe or through your water or through any other means they want to actually produce this or make this go into people, they came up with the HIV conspiracy. That HIV causes AIDS. They spent all their money and campaign on this. Why? Because in the HIV medicine was an agent that break down cells and kill you. And this has been proven. Someone that goes to the doctor, and I don't mean to go into science and all that, but I just want to show y'all something to show you. I'm going to bring it back around. I want to show you something here. The doctors knew that HIV didn't cause AIDS. If you go to a doctor and you get if you have pneumonia, there's a chance you will come up, they tell you can't even take an HIV test when you have pneumonia, because it gives some of the same agents, and you will have a positive HIV test. There's 5 different ways, according to their chart, that one can have AIDS in the United States. And only 2 of those are on the same chart in Africa. So there's 2 separate tests on HIV. But really, the drugs that you take for HIV breaks down your cells and you think that you're dying of AIDS. But it's the drug that's doing it. So the pharmaceuticals that became multi-millionaires off of HIV, when a lot of people just live with HIV. They knew HIV was in blood before there was an AIDS pandemic. But if they can get everybody to agree that there was a connection between HIV and AIDS, then everybody that tests for HIV will get this medicine and depend on this medicine and still die eventually, because the medicine will break down their cells and kill them. What a game, right? Total eugenics and destruction. There is a cure. There's no such thing, according to the Most High, everything can be cured. There's no such thing. The body is the best machine on earth. So don't believe that mess. It ain't no cure. The pharmaceutical companies make you think there is no cure. When this brother cured himself, you can find him on YouTube. I've seen him about 3-4 years ago, if he's still on there. He goes around, he speaks to people in small rooms and tell them, listen, I got my paperwork. I can track AIDS. And it's exactly like I'm telling you. He tracked AIDS. And AIDS did not come from no physical phenomenon in which 2 people had sex and then AIDS started spreading. That's a lie. It had an origin. It was financed by the pharmaceuticals, and it was financed by government for eugenics and the extermination of the children of Israel. That's how we bring this all around. What people are suffering from it more than any other people in the earth? The people they've targeted from the beginning. That was the plan for AIDS. Many doctors have come up with cures or alternative medicines. But some of these doctors, most of them, come up missing. Okay? That's what happens. Okay, right now, that's the biggest money maker for all drugs in the earth. The war against HIV. They're not even focused on AIDS. They just want you to get HIV or say you have HIV. Now you're hooked on the medicine to avoid dying. It's propaganda. Exactly. One brother put it out there. The drug that was killing people in the past is AZT. That's the name of the drug. AZT. They put a purpose cell degenerate in the medicines. And people thought that really they was dying from the diagnosis or the AIDS, when they was dying from the medicine. And it's proof now. This is science. This is true today. They'll tell you, well, yeah, we made a mistake with that, but science was young at that time. No, you were killing people on purpose. And now you've spread it out to different drugs and hid the drugs and masked the same drug in your new HIV pills. And they're killing the people. So these people are totally healthy. And they go down and they go to the United States. There's so many ways you can have HIV. You go to a doctor, they'll just say, yeah, it looks like you got HIV. Now you're on this high medication. The medication is killing you. Right? Now, I'm going there because in Psalms 83 it says they will cut us off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. Will be no more in remembrance. Get Job 13 and 4. Job 13 and 4. Job. Like job. Something that most people don't have today. Excuse me. I wanted to put that out because I think they have some type of conference in Europe now, right? They have a conference of AIDS awareness within Europe, or is that? I keep seeing it. I think it's in Russia. Okay. And now all the scientists are going against them, asking, why aren't you receiving? Why are you not welcoming alternative views when it comes to treating AIDS? These drugs are not doing nothing. 50 million people have died. That's a lot of people. So their eugenics program is working, because those people could have had people. Read Job 13 and 4. Read it.
Job chapter 13 verse 4. But ye are forgers of lies.
They are forgers of lies. A forger of a lie means they'll sit behind these closed offices, or they'll sit at these big tables and say, you know what, let's create a lie. Let's forge a lie. And HIV is an example of it. The eugenics is, and it's amazing that this information of the doctors who created this gets no media play at all. What I'm saying is not foreign, it's not new information, but it gets no media play. Why? The same corporations that are behind the eugenics, behind destroying the people, that are behind making laws to destroy the people, are the same corporations that own your media outlets. So an alternative view will never, they'll never have an alternative view in modern media. Media is made to program and push an agenda. Read.
Job chapter 13 verse 4.
Go ahead.
But ye are forgers of lies.
They are forgers of lies, and what else?
Ye are all physicians of no value.
And their doctors and their physicians is of no value. They're of no value. Their doctors. Their science is madness. It's Frankenstein science. That's what it is. It's Frankenstein science. Okay? It's impossible to have medicine for sale in a capitalistic society in which you can trade and buy stocks for a pharmaceutical company on the market. That's backwards. That means no longer is medicine put on earth to heal you. It's a for gain company. So how much money will these companies lose if there's a cure for AIDS? Are you kidding me? Can you imagine how much the pharmaceuticals will lose if there's a cure for AIDS? They don't want no cure. There is no cure. Take this AZT. That's what you do. There is no cure. Take this medicine. Alright? They are physicians of no value. So you can't go to these doctors and get a cure. Pharmaceutical companies are not in the business of cures. Cures put them out of business. That's common sense. Cures put pharmaceutical companies out of business. Pharmaceutical companies learned a long time ago, why should we give a cure when we can just give medicine for the symptom. It's the symptom people want to eradicate. They just want to feel they're not sick. Don't cure them. Is there a cure for a cold? Yes, there is. There's been a cure for the cold. Will they give you a cure for the cold? No. Because look how much money they make off the symptoms of a cold. Runny nose. Stuffy head. Headache. Congestion. That's about six different medicines right there. Why should I give you a cure for a cold? Same thing with AIDS. It's the same thing. Pharmaceutical companies is a for-profit business. They're not in the business of curing you. They're in the business of making money off of you, off of your sicknesses. So when they made medicine a for-profit business, it was no longer for the people. It was no longer for the people as far as medicines go. That's why people need to start linking in the herbs, trying to find out what's going on with the herbs. Go online and find out what herb it takes to cure whatever you're dealing with. Naturally, because the Lord says He put the herbs on the earth for me. They heal. That's what they're for. But they'll put an adjective in a medicine for your symptom that breaks down something else in your body in which you need a medicine for. You understand? It's the same thing. It's perpetual. Just like the diabetes medicine that they give people. Okay, my diabetes is working out, but I lost a foot. I don't have a foot now. I don't have a leg now. The medicine kills you and destroys you, so you'll need more medicine. So we have to go to the Most High, ask for healing, get anointed on the Sabbath, ask for healing, and put the herbs in our body for healing. Okay? Now, I said the next time we meet, I was going to go into what's happening in the Middle East, and I'm going to end it on that, and I'll just save the rest of the information for Saturday. For Saturday, all right? I didn't show this to them. Where's that other card at? The same card. Oh yeah. I also went, when we were in the conference, I went into the truth about the blood in the water. And you see, it's coming to pass. It's exactly what we said it was going to be. Remember last week I was telling everybody they have capped the oil well to make everybody think that they did something? And really it was a diversion from what was under the seabed that was leaking miles away. Over 18 places on the floor of the sea of the Gulf is leaking right now. But they got everyone looking at one little hole that they claim they capped. I told everyone last week, I'm like, they're going to say they capped it. And for 2 days, everyone's going to be feeling they okay. Then they're going to say, well, the pressures are not working. And they got to look at it. Now they're saying it's not an oil spill now. It's seepage. It's seepage now. You see how they play on words? First of all, it's not a spill. It's a volcanic eruption under the waterbed. That's what it is. In Revelations, the 8th chapter, in Revelation the 16th chapter, John seen a mountain that was thrown into the sea. A volcanic eruption is under the water. He seen a mountain that was thrown in the sea, and a third of the sea was turned to blood. The majority of the seas was turned to blood, and the majority of creatures, a third of the sea, of the creatures that live in the waters, were killed. As you can see, waters turned to blood. They're lying, talking about they have capped the well. Then they lied, making people in the United States think that it's the British Petroleum's fault and BP's fault. And we found out from people in Britain, in Europe, that the majority of the shares owned on BP is owned by American companies. So they're passing the buck over to making people mad at British Petroleum to pass the buck. And really British Petroleum is a predominantly owned American company. Then you get Barack Obama on TV, on the news, claiming that he's going to make a stand against these Brits. He's going to make a stand against Great Britain. When Halliburton, all those companies own the shares. Okay? So what's going on now? What's going on now is there's an uproar in government when it comes to this oil spill. They're trying to plan on what the next course of action is. They're trying to plan on the next course of action based on the seepage under the oil well. When really we know what the next course of action is. Displacement. Okay? I can't go through it all, but I just want to, where's my I put my apocrypha here. My annotated apocrypha. Yeah. I wanted to go into what's going to happen in the Middle East, because I've never went over it with y'all here, and I said I would. And then we'll be open for questions, and we'll see you all Friday. Saturday, okay. Well, we gotta go out Friday night. You have yours? I need you to read this. And this is happening all over the world. What's happening with people losing jobs, and the resources are going up to the point where you can't afford the resources. This is happening all over the earth. There's a famine that's developing right now over in Russia because it's, because of the heat wave that's over there. Resources are going up high. Jobs are being lost. And it's amazing to me, if you look at the United States politics, get 2 Corinthians 15 and 2 Corinthians 16 for me. If you look at the politics, not just the United States, but over here also, you look at the politics of how so many people are out of work, right? Don't have jobs, don't know where the next dollar is going to come from or what have you. But yet, legislation is on the table for Barack Obama to extend what you would call the stimulus. And I'm going to show you how they play both sides, even though there's no such thing as Democrat or Republican. They're all on the same side. Masons under Satan. Okay? There is no good or bad. They both play the middle. Barack Obama is now blaming the Republicans for not signing the stimulus bill, saying they're playing political football with people's lives, saying it's the Republicans' fault. Okay, let's make it clear, Barack Obama. You can't get the Republicans to sign on to any legislation to help the people. But all the bills are voted on almost 100% when it comes to securing and detaining the people and destroying the people. The Republicans and Democrats can get together to sign a bill to take rights away, in which you can't speak. You can't do this because of terrorism. You can't do that because of terrorism. They're together. There's no gridlock there. There's no gridlock. The Republicans and Democrats can agree to sign all these different bills to bring the governors together under a FEMA emergency, to bring all organizations together, state, federal, and local, in an emergency. All these things can happen. Y'all can get together and be 100% there. But when it comes to finding money that can help these people that are out of work, the Republicans are trying to stop him from passing a bill. When they sign all the other bills you put out throughout your administration that will eventually oppress the people, including the health care bill. Where was the gridlock there? You see how they play with people's minds to make people think, well, it's the Republicans, it's the Democrats, when really it's an attack on the people. is what the Bible calls Jacob's trouble. And see, we need to get out of this thing following what the media is telling us about this middle class thing. They're trying to eradicate the middle class. No, they're trying to eradicate the children of Israel. I'm trying to put out some middle class, so you still muddy in the waters. What people can't afford to live right now? The poor. If they're doing this to the middle class, then what happens to the poor? Right? Now, let's go to 2nd Ezra. And it's amazing. The same time that they got people distracted, this is what's going on. You got all these ships over there in the Middle East, under the Suez Canal, past Egypt. There's about to be an all-out war in Iran. You got a flood that just happened in China that killed so many people from a dam. Alright? You have all these destructions going on in the earth. And the only thing that people in America can think about is that LeBron James just signed to the Miami Heat. Madness. He's going to Florida to do what? Breathe in the toxins that's coming out of the Gulf of Mexico? I need you to get this here to show you what's happening here. Which says victuals shall be cheap. Get the regular apocrypha here. Get that. 2nd Ezra 15. Let's start here. Let's start at 14. All this is happening all at once, and let me read this, because I want to say this. While we were in the conference, you had the one person that was alarmed and said, well, listen, you know, we've been listening for a while, but this one person said that, you know, they don't want to walk around paranoid based on the information. So they, you know, they'd rather feel that everything is okay. But even if we don't do anything, even if we just stand still and not do anything at all, the prophecies will still affect us one way or the other. There's nothing we can't get around it. Period. So I want to go into this. I said I would go into this, and then we can save it. We can answer a few questions. To show you some of the times, I need you to go to 2nd Ezra 15. What verse you at there? Where you at? I want that too. I want that too. But get the one in the 15th verse. Read it.
2nd Ezra, chapter 15, verse 14.
2nd Ezra in your apocrypha. 15 and 14.
Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh.
The Lord says, woe to the world and those that live in the world, because destruction is near. Now, that's not a bad thing for the children of Israel. It's not a bad thing. Because the children of Israel, we must go through Jacob's trouble to get our kingdom. The Lord says, woe to the world. And the only reason you will feel a certain type of way would be if you are attached to this world and feel that you need this world to continue. You cannot have two worlds that rule at the same time. In order for Christ's kingdom to stand, this world must fall. Read.
Verse 15. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another.
One people shall stand up to fight against another. The media, like I said last week, is fueling racial tensions all through the media. They are fueling racial tensions all over the place. You can't turn on the TV nowhere on earth unless you hear about another false flag terrorist attack that's done through government being blamed on some people that no one knows. Okay? That's the media now. You can't look at one TV program unless there's some terrorist activity in it to make you think that it's okay for the government to treat everyone they run into as a possible terror suspect. Read.
And one people shall stand up to fight against another.
One people shall stand and fight against another. Read.
And swords in their hands.
With swords in their hands. The modern day sword is a gun. Go ahead.
Verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes.
So they're going to be invading each other. You know why they'll be invading each other? Like it tell you in the scriptures, for a lack of bread. What happens when you don't have no unemployment? We don't have no checks coming. They talk about cutting off welfare not only in America, in Europe. What happens when you don't have any money? You don't have anything. You're going to find some bread. So you got these neo-clans, all these militia groups out there. They storing food and guns. Now immediately, eventually the UN government is going to take them out, but not before they let them loose on the poor. So when the poor need some bread, where will they go? They're going to go where some food is stored. What is that? That's a serious war. That's a civil war. Christ spoke of these things. It's brewing. It's all in the media, where racial tensions are growing. You understand? Everybody's looking at each other like, I don't know who you are, you don't know who I am. Anything can happen at any time. This is what's going on here. Right? Read.
And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city.
People going to desire to go into a city, read.
And shall not be able.
You're going to have people that will desire to try to go into another city because it's so hard where you are. And soon you will not be able. They're trying to restrict traveling now. Not just from country to country. They got legislation on the table that will stop people from going from city to city or state to state. Don't think those toll bridges were there just so you can pay tolls and get some roads built. Them tolls are there. There's a police station at every toll. I mean, you got a whole new world order security grid in which you will not be able to travel unless you have the mark of the beast, which we went into. Read.
Verse 18. For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled.
Go ahead.
The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor.
A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. And when it comes down to food, it's either you or me. That's what it's coming down to. It's going to be a big world game survival. And only the strong will survive. That's what's going on in the earth. And I'm not saying this to be doom and gloom or to... I'm just telling you what the Bible says. This is what's coming. We've been saying it for years. We're living in the calm before the storm. Read.
Verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread.
Because of what?
Because of the lack of bread.
The fight is going to be for a lack of bread. So there's no surprise that sooner or later everything is shooting up in price. When petrol or gas go up, everything goes up. Why? The truck that's bringing your resources to your stores need petrol or gas. So in order for them to put gasoline in their tanks, they must go up on product. Now if you're having wars against the people of the Middle East, and they're the people that own the oil, of course you have a lack of oil, or the prices will go up during a war against an Arab country. They realize this. So what does this mean? A lack of bread, and the people that are already suffering, that don't have anything, their resources dry up, and there's no end to the suffering. There's no end. There's no light at the end of the tunnel anywhere, because it's one turmoil, one thing after the next. Read.
Verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation.
And for great tribulation. A lack of bread and great tribulation. Now, some of us grew up around this anyway. And some people, we've been going through Jacob's trouble for a long while. And when people can't eat, when people can't take care of what they need to take care of, they spoil the elderly. They attack the weak. Imagine this on a mass scale all over the earth. And the government is going to sit back and let this happen so they can come in as the saviors. They're going to let it happen for a good minute. But what people have the guns? I don't know. They don't have a right to bear arm here? Huh? You need a license? So if you're poor, can you own a gun? Man. Huh? The bullets have to be kept separate from the gun. So if somebody come in your house and your bullets is one place and your gun is the other, what good is it? So you got to have your bullets and guns locked away in separate places. So y'all don't have the right to bear arms. Man. Over in America, you have the right to bear arms, but they're making it hard for people. You have to jump through hoops to get that. And then they're talking about straw cells. Like people are buying guns for other people. They're trying to make that a reason for cutting off, your right to bear arms. When the crime is not being done by the people with legal guns, the crimes are being done by the people who the government empowered to overrun the neighborhoods. Okay, it's the government that open up their trunks and sell guns, pennies on a dollar, to the ghetto to keep things like it is. So it's the legal people are not the people with guns. It's the illegals. Okay? Read that part again.
Verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword.
They shall do what?
But shall destroy their houses with the sword.
They shall destroy their houses with the sword. Read.
And spoil their goods.
And spoil their goods. In Illinois, over in America, they just ran a test run in Illinois of a series of terrorist attacks or terrorist activity in Chicago. And with this, you got the Polish army in collaboration with the American army doing exercises right on American soil together with their guns pointed in a mock terrorist act. You understand? It's a mock terrorist thing, like a drill. And they are pointing their guns to American citizens. Right there. And one guy snuck in and was able to ask questions and asked the guy, the guy from Poland, he's like, yeah, we've been doing some testing with America for a while, and that's our sister country, and we just here to assist. Right? And then the reporter asked the Polish sergeant, is American troops over in Poland helping you all with your drills? And he was like, no, we don't do that in Poland. But in America, they got Polish, they got Russian, they got all these different troops doing these mock terrorist drills. And mind you, Chicago, Illinois is the place Barack Obama came out of. All this is going on. Okay? They're brewing terrorism all through Europe. Okay? Read on.
And but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods.
Shall do what?
And spoil their goods.
And spoil their goods. So all the things you own, what can you do? All the things you own. If there's something that happens, like, just say people need to be displaced or be evacuated based on the things that are happening there. They already have the governments in place. They have the armies in place. Over 10,000 Canadians went to the borders. Went around to the eastern Gulf Coast to help clean up. So if something happens where you must be displaced, and Radiant RFID is in charge of displacing you and your family as an evacuee. Once that happened, what happened to your things in your house? What happens? It's gone. All that you worked for to show your worth is wiped out in a day through them naming your area a public domain. That means it no longer belongs to you. It's under military occupation. So all the possessions no longer belong to the person in the house. These are the things they're brewing and testing all over the earth. And don't think they can't do this. They did this with tsunamis. They did this with Haiti. They did a lot of testing to lead to this one world global net and the destruction of people. They've done this. What y'all feel going on here? What do y'all see here? Tell me. Huh? What is it? So the EDL is really Europe's answer to the KKK, I guess.
They're promoting that they're not racist.
They're saying they're not racist, but why? What is their plan?
It's being infiltrated by what you call the National Front or far-right neo-Nazis. In there, they've got an agenda, so they're looking to manipulate the situation.
Okay.
And gather more people and cause more friction amongst the communities. What they're saying is they don't want an extremist there, and they don't want Sharia law in the UK.
So their problem is what's going on with the so-called
war on terrorism.
The war on terrorism, the occupation or the monopoly that the Arabs have on halal meat in Europe. Right? All right.
But the main title why they're saying that they're coming is specifically to protest about Islam extremism.
Islam extremism.
The reason why they're coming to Bradford is because it's classed as an Asian city and Muslim city. So okay. That's why they're bringing it here.
Okay. So in Europe they're fueling racial tensions, and the media is all behind it. Who will not protect themselves against a threat? So they're promoting this threat through media. They're doing the same thing in the United States. They're fueling racial tensions all in media. They're doing it all over the place, leading to when Christ says there shall be nation against nation. And it comes down to race wars. See, and it's not the people that operate with cool heads are the problem. You're going to get a few of the nut jobs in the midst of these things that's really going to pop things off. These are the guys who can't wait to shoot somebody. They're the guys that's going to make things, going to heighten it and get promoted. Go ahead. So you have 10,000 what you would call white extremists is going to march against the Islamic extremists. Right here. Huh?
They're preparing for war as well.
And the Muslims are preparing too.
Looks like it.
If this ain't Bible prophecy.
If you actually go on the BBC website and type in like BNP members making bombs, you've got BNP members or people who have a far right agenda in the UK, and they're making bombs. You have a guy about 10 years ago, and he was setting up nail bombs in black areas and letting them off.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And another thing you can look at as well, just recently, probably about a month or two ago, there was a documentary on BBC Three, so I think you might be able to find it on BBC iPlayer, about EDL and what they're about. Is it still there? And the heating it up and the showing little clips, and you've got, like you said, there'll be a certain number of people who are just waiting to get involved, and that actually shouting out the top of their voices, Epala, Epala, which straight, that's
That's disrespectful.
That is war.
That's war. So the question is, where do we fit in this picture? Right? Because I'm looking at some of you up in the room, and I can definitely mistake a few of you for Arabs here. Oh my goodness. So the black people then joined in with the Muslims against the EDL.
White people.
Huh? And there's black people amongst the EDL.
The main guy running EDL is Sikh.
And see, you know what? I don't think this is a coincidence. What's the date for this?
26th.
28th. Of this month? Of next month? Okay, good. All right. Because I'm just saying, I'm looking at what's going on there, and it's the same time they're brewing racial tensions between the Mexicans and the white extremists and the Muslim extremists over in America. The same time they're fueling things about black people with the Black Panther against the Tea Party. It's the same exact propaganda and program. Let's make it clear, and I said it before. There's no people in America that want to take the jobs that Mexicans are taking in America. Who's going to fill up a big crate almost as big as this room for $2 in a farm? Who's going to do that? You understand? So they're trying to make it seem as if Mexicans came over to take the jobs from Americans, when Bill Clinton is the one that gave the jobs away when he signed the NAFTA agreement in the 90s. That's when the jobs was given away. Because when they globalized, it made more fiscal sense to take their business over into third world countries and make money. So they trying to blame the Mexicans for them losing their jobs. And see, you get these people that are oppressed and lost their job, mad at their boss. Now they're looking at TV, they're looking at some Mexicans working. And to you, man, they took my job. No. The corporation set this up for race wars. Like Christ says, there shall be nation against nation. That's nationality against nationality. And that's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. It's race, but no one wants to talk about it. It all comes down to race. Even though people might think that, well, hold up, you're a racist for talking about race. Everyone is divided on racial lines, and it's the media promoting it. But we can't talk about it. Right? Read on. So the question is, what y'all going to do when these 10,000 people march? Y'all live here, right? You're going to be home. Okay. All right.
I'm trying to be in this.
Okay.
Just in the city.
Boy, it's everywhere.
Hey, Delvin, tell them about how they be tossing Uzis and machine guns out the car window when the cops were chasing them.
Yeah. If you watch like Crime Watch, like some of the local lads around here, if the police are gonna pull them over sometime, you know what I mean, you've got video footage of them throwing submachine guns out the car window. It was only about a year, probably 2 years ago, a policewoman got shot dead in town by probably what you call two ethnic minorities. So this is all stirring up tension amongst the communities in the UK. And even though everybody, I mean, Bradford, you've got to remember Bradford's a multicultural place, so 90% of the time, or most of the time, people get along. But what the powers that be do, manipulate the situation and cause divides amongst communities. And it's friction, it's friction building, and at some point it's going to explode. And that's what we're waiting for that explosion.
And it, you know, go ahead, sister, go ahead. Yeah, they're trying to take the veil away now. They did it in France. They also approved it in Syria. So they're doing that here now.
Obviously, we all know why you can't wear jewelry in a hospital.
Yeah.
It's just making like people that are not really like wise, you know, get mad. Just like
Yeah.
lower class English people just get mad on a low level.
Yeah, what they're doing, they're fueling racial tension, and these political things are leading to prophecies fulfilled. This is what Christ spoke about a long time ago. We talked about, and you hear it, preachers preaching from the pulpit, nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom, but they didn't understand the politics that would lead to the prophecies being fulfilled. This is the politics of it. This is the time that Christ, and these are the signs of his coming. Because if you notice in Matthew 24, when we read that, it was saying, what should be the signs of thy coming? And then the end of the world. He said, many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. The love of many shall wax cold. He also said that there should be nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. This is what's going on in the earth right now. So what we're looking at, it's good to talk about the politics part of it, but the overview is the signs of our Lord. Our Lord will soon crack the earth. The Lord says, this word must be preached throughout the four corners of the earth, then the end shall come. So everybody got to shout it out and let everyone know, listen, this is the sign of our Lord. These are signs, these are signs. Yeah, we got these little isolated incidents and we know what it leading to, but the overall understanding that we should get out of this is that Christ is on his way. Right? That's the overall sign we must get out of it. And understand that when you are persecuted in the city, you flee into another city. You understand? Even Christ had more faith than anyone that ever walked the planet. But he knew when it wasn't his time. When it was his time, he went to Jerusalem. But other times they wanted to kill him, they wanted to destroy him. He weaved out and got out of the way. So there's nothing wrong with eluding destruction if you see it coming. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people say, well, that's not an act of faith. No, it's pure stupidity to sit in a way of a big tank coming down the street and you in the middle of the street. That's stupidity. That's not faith. You understand? So if you see something coming, you can move out of the way. That's not a lack of faith. Alright? Christ says when you see these persecutions happen in one city, you flee into the next city. Read the next point.
Verse 20. Behold, saith the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth.
He's going to call together who?
All the kings of the earth.
All the kings of the earth. You got your Ahmadinejad. You got Barack Obama. You got Chavez. You got, I mean, you name it. He calling together all these kings. All in the Middle East. You got the dude from North Korea. He's calling together all the people that are sitting in rulership positions to do what?
To reverence me.
To reverence the Most High. These are the signs of the comings. In order for Israel to stand as a people, this world must come down. What greater way for this world to come down but through war? You take out all the military at once, and then you come with the greatest military, the Most High and his army, to totally put a foot on the last war, the war of Armageddon. After that, total freedom. There's no redemption without bloodshed. Everyone wants to get straight to heaven and straight to the redemption, but don't understand that we must go through the bloodshed. You just can't jump over. Christ didn't just get the kingdom in all glory. He had to go and shed that blood. He had to go through the persecution. So they're teaching in these churches that you're going to float into heaven before the persecution comes when you're living in the persecution. How can you be floated out into heaven and right now you're unemployed? Right now you're getting persecuted. Right now you're looking for a job. Why haven't you been raptured? That was a part of the deception. You should have been gone already. Right now, they're giving out Mark of the Beast to go into a club in Florida, the Baja Club. So you should have been raptured already. I thought the ship is not introduced until the Antichrist has been revealed as they speak. You should have been raptured. And I'm saying this for any Christians in here who might have thought or just hoping that there's some truth to the rapture happening before Christ returns. It will not happen. The rapture happens once he returns. There will be no tribulation period in time for repentance once Christ returns. There is no 7-year tribulation period after a rapture. That's not in the Bible. That's total Christian dogma, and it's taught by sorcerers and those guys that came up with that lesson or that fictional movie Left Behind. That's some of the greatest fiction ever to hit earth. It have no Bible content and no Bible validity. But those that refuse to read the Bible cannot see that it was a figment of someone's imagination. There will be no rapture out of tribulation. If Christ went through it, we're going to go through it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? Like we said before, we said it in the lesson. Before we take their stinking chip, we'll take death. Period. Period. They have this thing set up in which they're going to put people in these camps. All your debt is going to be relayed over to the corporations who are owned by the same nations we read in Psalms 83. And now you got to pay off your debt, pay off your debt and work in these camps for nothing. Knowing that you were born in debt. You can never pay off your debt. So you are a slave until you die. That's their plan. That's their plan. Finish reading.
2 Ezra, chapter 15, verse 20. Behold, saith the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me.
Go ahead.
Which are from the rising of the sun, from the south.
They're from where?
From the rising of the sun.
From the rising of the sun. Where did the sun rise at? From the east. So it's not a coincidence that at the very end of them trying to build a new world order, they would bring propaganda for a war against the east. Against the east. It's the same propaganda. When they had a problem with Russia, it was a cold war against Russia. We had a problem with the Arabs. They went to war against them, and their propaganda and movies degraded the people they were about to war against. Okay, it's the same propaganda. When they went against the Vietnamese in Vietnam, the media and propaganda was against Vietnamese. Now their last war is against the people coming from the east. Why? Because they know according to the scriptures that's the last takedown. That's the last takedown. Okay, and another thing about the places in the east, because we've been there, they are not totally controlled by the New World Order. They don't have cameras all over the place where you can be tracked and all that. That's another thing. They need to be able to get those countries under the same surveillance they have the rest of the world in order to eradicate the children of Israel. To have you understand this on a global scale. Read.
Which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Libanus, to turn themselves one against another.
They're going to turn themselves one against another. America is in so many wars right now. I don't know who they're fighting. Countries are fighting new countries. It's just happening. Wars, rumors of wars. Who's bankrolling all the wars? The so-called God's chosen people. Who's funding all the wars? Let me tell you, man, the people that are controlling this world could care less about money. Money is what the poor people spend. They own people. They own resources. They control the earth. They care more about your debt than your money. Because as long as you're in debt, you are a slave to them. That's what it's about. For years they gave you credit cards and said, just go ahead and spend. You had some people that couldn't rub two nickels together. Every year they had a new car, trading in their car for more debt. Oh, I got a house, I can get a loan on my house. You got a second and third loan on your house and you couldn't pay the first loan. They did that purposely, so when they take you in those camps, they're going to pull up your debt. Oh yeah, you got to work here a long time, buddy. Here's this chip. Well, hold up, I thought I was coming into the camps because I was getting evacuated, so y'all can save and help me. Well, yeah, but we ran your information on this national database that now we're allowed to do based on the healthcare bill, and we understand that you owe some debt, and this company just bought your debt, and we're going to send you to that camp. You owe child support. How much? Okay. Well, ma'am, in order for you to get child support, because we got him now, we got him in this camp right over here. He's going to work off his debt to you. You got to get the chip so the money can go into your account, so you can pick up your child support, and you got to get a chip to work, or we're going to kill you. What a system. And they make you think that these are fringe events going on in the earth. Like these are all independent situations that one event have nothing to do with the other. Man, what a great conspiracy. Linking back to Psalms 83. And it was aimed towards destroying the people and squeezing everything out of you while killing you. And it's just too many people for resources, so some people is not even going to get the option to work. You'll get the lethal dose. Okay? They probably got a double dose of swine flu for you. You come get your swine flu shot. This is what's going on in the earth today. Read on.
2 Ezra chapter 15 verse 20. Behold, saith the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me.
Go ahead.
Which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Libanus, to turn themselves one against another, and repay the things that they have done to them, like as they do yet this day unto my chosen.
So, because they have oppressed the chosen people, now the Most High put a spirit in the armies to fight against each other. So since you conspired in Psalms 83 to oppress his people, and they had no knowledge of him, and they forgot about their God, since they cannot fight for themselves, I'm going to make you nations fight against each other and take each other out. And they thought they had a plan. Check out the Most High's plan. They're vying for power. They're so greedy, lusting for power. Their power have actually overwhelmed them to the point where their power will destroy them. Because now you have to take out the other person to stay alive. Vying for power. You have to fight the other person to keep your position. Read.
Verse 21. Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense in their bosom.
So these wars are paybacks to the nations for what they did to us. It's payback for them. See, the Most High, I don't know what God they're teaching in the church, but the Most High says, Galatians 6 and 7, eventually you reap what you sow. Especially when there's no place for repentance. Now, the Most High is graceful. He have grace and he'll give you a space in which to repent. But if repentance is not in your program, eventually you gotta reap what you put in the ground. What you sow is what comes back. So they did all these things to God's people, and they figured that nothing would come back. Now the Most High have the nations doing things to them, like the Palestinians and the Moab and Ammon thought they was doing the other nations a favor when they encamped around us and helped us lose Jerusalem. But now they're fighting for their lives on the border on the Gaza Strip because the people they helped are now killing them. A perfect example. You see that? That's how it goes around. Read.
Thus saith the Most High Power, my right hand shall not spare the sinners, and my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth.
So the Most High will not spare the sinners, those that purposely sin against the Most High. He will not spare. And also, read that last part.
My right hand shall not spare the sinners, and my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth.
Who shed innocent blood upon the earth. Some of these brothers and sisters join the army based on the fact that they can't afford life where they are. Okay? It's like a revolving door of the poor. Revolving door. They go out there and get recruiters, and you get the poor of the earth to fight your wars. Why? Because they want an education, or there's no jobs anyway. Why there's no jobs or opportunities? The system was set up so that there will be no jobs and opportunities. Go to the army, be proud, make your family proud, and fight these blood wars. Yet the corporations and the people that own these corporations, their children are not fighting on the front line of these wars. Who's fighting? The poor people. They shed innocent blood. Let me tell you, the war on terror, there is no uniform. When you say there's a war on terror, you're not fighting an army no more. You're just in a war against the people. That's what a war on terror is. You can shed innocent blood and say, well, okay, my fault. I think a few insurgents got killed. Oh, that's casualties of war. Let's get the last part. Let's go over there. Let's go over about the clouds coming from one place to the next. I need you to get where it says victuals shall be cheap in those days.
2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 21.
Go ahead.
Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon the earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth.
Even though evils shall grow upon the earth, read.
Sword, famine, and great confusion.
What will be upon the earth?
Sword, famine, and great confusion.
Sword, famine, and great confusion, read.
Verse 22. For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine.
Many shall perish of famine. And you can do this when you set up a corporate monopoly over food. How can you put a brand name on food and sell it when food come out of the ground for free? And there is a famine based on the industrious restaurants they have today, in which they have to make all these clone meat just to deal with demand of the food they need to get refrigerated there. There's a lack of food in the earth. There's a lack of food, there's a lack of grain. Read.
Verse 22. For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine.
Shall perish of famine. And we have many of our people perishing of famine right now. Look what's going over there in Haiti. All the millions and millions of dollars that was sent to Haiti, there's people still starving. I know because it's not on the news, you think that Haiti just got rebuilt, right? The last story that came out of Haiti, what happened? All these people suffering. Orphans with like 6 cans of beans for 50 children. But yet, 3 miles away, there's a storehouse filled with grain, food, everything, and they're not giving the people the food on purpose. But what can you do? Nothing. Read.
And the other that escaped the hunger shall the sword destroy.
Read that again.
And the other that escaped the hunger shall the sword destroy.
And those that escape the hunger, the sword will destroy. So it's a meticulous war they're doing against the people. You can starve them out. When you starve them, are they strong enough to fight? No. Have them fight each other. Okay, they tired from war. First of all, they've been living tired all their life. Been working all their life. Now they tired through war. And then they're more tired because there's no nourishment of food. They drink water. They're drinking fluoridated water. They're drinking water that's poison in them. So really, they're open game for the destruction that's coming. Read.
Verse 23. And the dead shall be cast out as dung.
It says the dead shall be cast out as dung. See, y'all might think, okay, y'all hear about FEMA coffins. Yeah, FEMA coffins. And people think they're going to escape because you're not in the United States. Did you all go on and Google concentration camps in Europe yet? Huh? You see them? Yes. They're all in Europe. Huh? What type of prisons?
Floating prisons.
Floating prisons.
Overcrowded there. So you're gonna have prisons that float in the middle of the sea. So you don't know where you are.
Hold up. They have prisons that float where?
In the sea.
On top of the sea?
Yeah. I can show you on the news now. I can show you a legitimate news site now.
They have floating prisons.
Yeah. Because of the overcrowded.
They have floating prisons because of the overcrowded population of inmates. So they got floating prisons that they have that floats on the sea. No one's in them right now. Okay.
2006, the last of Home Office plans floating jails.
Oh man, they have floating jails. They got floating jails on the back. Look at this. I don't know if they can see this. BBC floating jails. Now I don't know about over here, but in America, the jails are like predominantly 80%, if not about 80% minority. That's black and Latinos. I don't know what the numbers is over here. They're high ratio, right? So you never guess who those floating jails are for.
You guessed it. Taking the DNA samples from
Yeah.
75% more likely to get black men is 75% more likely to get pulled and checked for his DNA sample.
It says the black man is 75% more likely
to be stopped and searched in the UK.
To be stopped and searched and get their DNA taken. You mean taking your DNA? How do they take your DNA? With what? A cotton swab?
Yeah, if you caution, they try and take it. If you don't know your rights, if you don't know you're allowed a solicitor, they'll take your DNA swab without you even thinking about it.
Which means without you thinking about it? Do they just go in your mouth with a cotton swab?
They say that it's a requirement.
Do they ask you?
Yeah, they say it's required.
So they say if you don't want to give your saliva voluntary, that they'll take a piece of your hair strand by force.
Hold up.
That's what they say.
Alright, let me make this clear. Okay. Okay, so you're saying that if not the cotton swab, they'll take you here
That's
by
what they
force.
say. That's what they say. Exactly what they say.
We're in that time, brothers. We're in that time. Read on. Verse
23. And the dead shall be cast out as dung,
and the dead shall be cast out as dung. Read.
and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down.
The earth shall be wasted, and the cities will be cast down. Read.
Verse 24. There shall be no man left to till the earth, and to sow it. The trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men.
All places, these cities we're seeing eventually will be desolate of people. Why? Through war. Okay? Through war. Go ahead.
Verse 27.
I need you to go down to where it says a star. Let's get it. Let me get it here. Right here. It talks about a cloud. Right here. Start at the 15th, and let's start at the 33rd verse. And we're going to end it here, then we'll open it up for questions.
2nd Ezra, chapter 15, verse 33. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them, and consume some of them, and in their host shall be fear and dread, and strife among their kings.
We're talking about among what you would call the Eastern kings. That's what's going over in the Middle East right now. They're being pit against each other politically, to war against each other. Read.
Verse 34. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon.
These clouds are speaking of mushroom clouds. Mushroom clouds. Back then there was no nuclear capability. So this is what Ezra is seeing. Clouds coming from the nuclear hits. Read.
Full of wrath and storm.
Full of wrath and storm. This is the future. The near future. Read.
Verse 35. They shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth.
It says they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth. This is missiles hitting other missiles that are flying in the sky. See, back then, they didn't have the technology like you see, like the Star Wars defense system and the technology when you see the Iraq war at night, and you see those things looking like stars shooting in the air. This is what Ezra is seeing here. Missiles shooting down other missiles. Read.
They shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth,
Go ahead.
even their own star. And blood shall be from the sword unto the belly.
The Lord says blood shall be from the sword to the belly. That's war. And we're living in it right now. You can't turn on TV without seeing war. Bloodshed. Read.
Verse 36. And dung of men unto the camel's hoof. And there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon the earth. And they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and trembling shall come upon them. And then shall there come great storms from the south, and from the south, and from another part from the west, and another part from the west.
So you're talking about missiles coming from different parts in the Middle East. The south, the west. So what's going to happen here? No sooner as America, along with Israel, go against Iran, that will begin what we are seeing right here. the first shot that's shot on Iraq will begin a combination of these clouds. Why? Because there's Middle Eastern countries that allowed Israel to have a place, in America to have a place to go against them. And Ahmadinejad threatened some of those countries and said, well, since you allowed them to get close to me, I'm going to hit you all first. He's going to be hitting those countries. He's going to hit parts of Israel. And then the countries that's in connection with America, with Ahmadinejad in Iran, will start launching towards America. So you're going to see stars go. Once one button is pushed, everybody going to start pushing. They're going to be pushing buttons, hitting buttons. This is what Esdras is seeing here. Read.
Verse 39. And strong winds shall arise from the east, and shall open it, and the cloud which ye have raised up in wrath, and the stars stirred to cause fear toward the east and west wind, shall be destroyed. The great and mighty cloud shall be lifted up full of wrath, and the star, that they may make all the earth afraid, and them that dwell therein.
And them that dwell therein. That means we will see these things. Read.
And they shall pour out over every high and eminent place and horrible stars.
So in every high and eminent place, you can think about all the high places that's revered in this earth, it will get hit, according to the Most High. Now, we know that the 10 horns at the very end fight against Christ. So the majority of Europe will be intact, but not before the roundups. Read.
Verse 41. Fire, and hail, and flying swords, and many waters, that all fields may be full, and all rivers with the abundance of great waters.
Go ahead.
And they shall break down the cities and walls, mountains and hills, trees of the wood, and grass of the meadows, and their corn. And they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon.
Right after the Middle East wars, where they going?
And they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon.
Now this is how we know that America is Babylon. The Middle Eastern wars happen first, and then they go to Babylon. You see that? We all know that when America and Great Britain went against the Middle East, the first country they fought was who? Iraq, which is Babylon. So that would be a reverse prophecy. How can they be Babylon when the Middle Eastern wars have to happen first, and then the last one goes back to Babylon? Y'all see that? That's crystal clear. So the Middle East must fight first, and then there's going to be a star from the Middle East and from different areas that will go towards the place we call the daughter of Babylon. Okay, this is the same Babylon in Revelation, the 18th chapter. Read.
Verse 43. And they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon, and make her afraid.
And make her afraid. Read.
Verse 44. They shall come to her, and besiege her. The star in all wrath shall they pour out upon her. And then shall the dust and smoke go up unto the heaven.
And then shall the dust and smoke go up into the heaven, linking directly to Revelations 18. Read.
And all they that be about her shall bewail her. And they that remain under her shall do service unto them.
And they that be under shall do service unto who?
Shall do service unto them that have put her in fear.
So for a while, you're going to have nations reverencing the Asians for a while, because they already have an institution in place, a stock market in place to replace America's stock market. Why do we say Asia? We know that beyond any shadow of a doubt, the Persians or Ahmadinejad is connected in blood to the Chinese and Japanese. They are Japhetic people. The Persians are the Medes. The Medes are families of Japheth. They're blood brothers with the Chinese and the Koreans. So once this happened, people will actually pay homage to some degree to Asia, because Asia have a stock market in place that can replace America's stock market. And then, because of of the bad publicity that America will be receiving doing the things they're doing, concentration camps, war, turmoil, civil war, Europe is going to turn their back on America too. And that's the 10 horns. So they're going to also play a part in taking down America. So once America is taken down, glory comes back to who? Thank you. Glory comes back to Europe. But they're not looking for you to glorify in this glory. It's camps for the slaves. Alright? It's the 10 horns that tell you in Revelation 17 who will fight against Christ when he returns. Right? Read.
Verse 46. And thou, Asia.
And by who?
And thou, Asia, that art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person.
You see that? Then it goes directly to Asia to let you know Asia was the place that helped take down Babylon. Then it says, O Asia, which are the Japhetic people, read.
Thou art partaker of the hope of Babylon.
You are partakers of the hope of Babylon. What people or what country invested in America and made themselves an industrial country to mimic America? Asia. China. You see that? They took all the technology from America and made it smaller and more affordable. And they invested all their money in the inventions and real estate of America. China almost owned America. Okay? Read.
And art the glory of her person.
Are the glory of her person. Go ahead.
Verse 47. Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her.
So he's calling the Asians wretch because they have made themselves to mimic the great whore, the daughter of Babylon. Read.
And hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee.
Go ahead.
Thou hast also followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore, saith the Most High, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence.
Read it again.
I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence.
So that's what's coming on. Go ahead.
To waste thy houses with destruction and death.
So right after America is dealt with, who's the next place being judged? Asia. Asia is the next place to be judged. Why? Because they made themselves to pick up where America left off at. They think they're just going to sit back while these wars go on and by default become the next superpower. But the Most High got a plan for them too. Who will be in power when Christ returns? The 10 horns. Esau will be in power when Christ returns. And the 10 horns will fight against Christ. And that's when the false prophet, which is the Pope, because he's behind all the false philosophies in the earth, the spirit that's in him, he's going to be destroyed. And the governments of this earth that are under the EU will be destroyed by Christ. Alright? I went into a lot of different I went to a plethora, of information this evening, but I wanted to show you who conspired against us. And I also said that I would mention what would happen in the Middle Eastern wars, and it's in 2nd Esdras. And mind you, it's in a book that they took out of the Bible, the Apocrypha. Okay, they'll tell you not to read the Bible or the Apocrypha. Alright? So I guess we'll go into the rest. I want to show you how we know beyond any shadow of a doubt who the 12 tribes of Israel are according to prophecy, but I'll show you all that with our next class. Okay? Do y'all have any questions before we pray out?
Next class Saturday.
Next class is Saturday? Where?
Conference. Where's Josh? We gotta beat that guy tomorrow, right?